If you've come across headlines this week claiming the IRS just confirmed a brand new one-time payment for millions of seniors this July, I want to level with you right away because a lot of people are searching for this exact phrase right now, and you deserve the real answer instead of a headline built to get clicks. As of today, there is no new one-time payment that the IRS has confirmed for July. I know that might not be what you were hoping to hear, especially if you were expecting a check to show up in your account, but I promise staying with me for the next few minutes is worth it, because there is genuine confirmed financial news affecting retirees right now, and understanding it correctly could actually save you money or protect you from a scam. So let's slow down, separate fact from rumor, and walk through exactly what's real, what's misunderstood, and what you should actually do about it. First, let's talk about why headlines like this keep appearing. Because once you see the pattern, you'll never fall for one again. Every few months, a story circulates claiming seniors are getting a surprise stimulus check, a special IRS bonus, or a one-time payment tied to some vague announcement. These stories spread incredibly fast because they get shared in Facebook groups, forwarded in family text threads, and republished by websites that know an emotional, hopeful headline gets far more clicks than a boring, accurate one. Almost always, there's a kernel of real news buried underneath, something like a tax law change, an inflation adjustment, or a state-level rebate program, and that real thing gets stretched, twisted, or misquoted into something that sounds like free money is landing in your bank account with no explanation required. I want to be clear that this isn't just annoying. It can genuinely be harmful, because confusion like this is exactly what scammers rely on. When people believe a new payment exists, they become more likely to click a suspicious link, answer a phone call asking them to verify eligibility, or hand over personal information to someone pretending to represent a government agency. So, let's get into what is actually confirmed and real for retirees this year, because there's a specific piece of tax news that I believe is at the root of a lot of this confusion. It's called the senior deduction, sometimes referred to as the senior bonus deduction, and it came from a tax law passed in the middle of last year. Starting with the 2025 tax year and continuing through 2028, taxpayers who are 65 or older can claim an additional deduction of up to $6,000 per person, on top of the deductions they already receive. If you're married and both spouses are 65 or older, that can add up to $12,000 in additional deductions on a joint return. I want to be very precise here, because this is where I think the rumor mill does the most damage. This is not a check mailed to you, and it's not a direct deposit that shows up out of nowhere. It's a deduction, meaning it reduces the amount of your income that gets taxed when you file your return. It shows up as a lower tax bill or a bigger refund, not as a standalone payment sitting in your bank account in July. Let me walk you through a relatable example so this actually makes sense in real dollars, not just abstract tax language. Picture a 70-year-old retiree living on Social Security, a modest pension, and occasional withdrawals from an IRA to cover larger expenses like a new furnace or a roof repair. Under the previous rules, once her combined income crossed certain thresholds, a good portion of her Social Security became taxable, and her IRA withdrawal got taxed on top of that at her regular bracket. With the new $6,000 deduction layered on top of her existing standard deduction and the additional deduction people over 65 already qualified for, she's now able to shield a meaningfully larger amount of income before any of it gets taxed at all. Depending on her exact numbers, this could reduce what she owes by several $100s for the year. People often assume that because there's a new senior deduction, Social Security benefits must now be tax-free. That is not accurate. The formula the IRS uses to determine how much of your Social Security is taxable, based on your combined income, has not changed. What's changed is that this new deduction works alongside that formula to reduce your overall taxable income, which can soften the tax hit on many retirees, sometimes significantly, but it does not erase Social Security taxation altogether. If you're a lower-income retiree who is already below the threshold where your benefits get taxed, this deduction mainly helps by reducing tax on other income you have, like pension payments or withdrawals, rather than changing anything about your Social Security specifically. Let's also talk about who actually qualifies for this deduction, because eligibility isn't universal, and I don't want anyone assuming they automatically get it. You need to be 65 or older by the last day of the tax year to claim it. It's available to you whether you take the standard deduction or itemize your deductions, which gives most retirees flexibility regardless of how they normally file. However, there's an income limit that matters a lot. The deduction begins phasing out once your modified adjusted gross income crosses $75,000 for single filers or $150,000 for married couples filing jointly, and it disappears completely above higher thresholds beyond that. So if you're a higher income retiree, you may only get a partial benefit, or none at all, depending on where your income falls. This is exactly the kind of detail a good tax preparer can walk through with you, because the phase out isn't always obvious just from looking at your total income at a glance. While we're on the topic of your actual income, I also want to address the confirmed increase many of you saw in your monthly Social Security or SSI deposit this year. Every year, benefits are adjusted for inflation through what's called the cost of living adjustment, and this year's adjustment did raise monthly benefit amounts starting in January. This is a normal, expected annual process, not a special one-time bonus, even though I've seen some headlines describe it in a way that makes it sound like a surprise payment. If your deposit looked a bit bigger this year, that increase is very likely the reason why. I genuinely encourage you to log into your My Social Security account online and look at your own benefit verification letter, because seeing your specific numbers directly from the source is always more useful than trying to interpret a vague headline written for clicks rather than clarity. I also want to mention something a lot of people don't realize. Some states offer their own relief programs for seniors, things like property tax rebates, energy assistance, or local relief checks. And these are genuinely separate from anything the federal government does. If you've heard a neighbor mention getting a payment, there's a real chance it came from a state or local program rather than a federal one, and eligibility and amounts vary enormously depending on where you live. If that's something you're curious about, it's worth checking your own state's Department of Revenue or Aging Services website directly, rather than assuming a general headline about seniors getting payments applies nationally. Now let's talk about protecting yourself, because I consider this the most important part of the entire conversation. Whenever headlines about a mystery payment start circulating, scammers move quickly to take advantage of the confusion. If you ever receive a call, text message, or email claiming you're eligible for a new IRS or Social Security payment and asking you to click a link, confirm your bank account information, or pay some kind of fee to unlock or process your payment, that is a scam every single time. The IRS does not initiate contact by phone, text, or email demanding personal information or payment, and it never requires you to pay anything up front to receive money that's genuinely owed to you. A good rule of thumb I share with retirees constantly is this: never trust a link inside an unexpected message about money, no matter how official the sender's name or logo looks. If you want to verify something, close that message entirely and go directly to irs.gov or ssa.gov yourself, or call the official phone numbers listed there. That single habit alone has protected countless people from losing money to scams built around exactly this kind of headline. Scammers and clickbait sites know that specificity feels credible, so they'll attach precise-sounding numbers and dates to make a rumor feel like an official announcement. The best defense isn't skepticism of every headline, it's simply checking the primary source. If the IRS or SSA hasn't published something on their own official website or a verified press release, treat it as unconfirmed until you see it there directly, no matter how many other websites are repeating it. First, log into or set up your My Social Security account so you can see your accurate personal benefit information straight from the source rather than relying on secondhand headlines. Second, if you're 65 or older, talk to your tax preparer or use trusted tax software to check whether you qualify for the new $6,000 senior deduction when you file. Because this provision is temporary, currently scheduled to expire after 2028, which makes the next few tax years a real planning window worth taking advantage of. Third, if you're curious about state-level relief programs, take a few minutes to check your own state's official website rather than assuming a general national headline applies to you. And fourth, whenever you see a claim about a new payment, Pause before sharing it with family or acting on it, and verify it directly through irs.gov or ssa.gov first. To bring this all together, here's the core truth I want you to walk away with today. There is no new one-time IRS payment confirmed for retirees this July, but there is a real, meaningful tax deduction available to seniors right now that could genuinely lower what you owe this filing season, along with the annual cost of living increase that's already reflected in your monthly benefit if you're receiving Social Security or SSI. The single most important action you can take today is to verify any claim about your money directly through the official IRS or Social Security websites, rather than trusting a headline, a forwarded text, or a video that doesn't clearly show its source. You've worked your whole life for the money you have now, and my only goal here is to help you keep it, understand it, and protect it. Take care of yourself, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.